Hi, David Colarusso here from Suffolk University Law School's Legal Innovation and Technology Lab. Last week we posted an interactive flowchart, or BOT, to help folks decide if they should attend our upcoming Legal Innovation and Technology Conference on April 8th, LitCon 2019. Well, people really seem to like it, so I figured why not show you folks how to make your own. So consider it a preview of the skills building session that'll be taking place before the conference on the 6th. Anyhow, here's the bot, and as you can see, it asks you questions like, can you make it to Boston on April 8th, 2019? And do you work in the legal sector? And based upon your answers to those questions, it's going to help you figure out whether or not LitCon's the right conference for you. It's full of all sorts of great Easter eggs, including, for example, a full chess game. So I hope you go over and you give the bot a look. But we wanted to tell you how to make something like this from scratch. So QnA is a simple programming language written for people with little or no programming experience. It transforms blocks of text into interactive questions and answers. And these can be used as standalone expert systems or in the aid of rules-based document automation systems. I've moved over here. This is the QnA editor available at QnAMarkup.org. And over here on the left, you type your code, and over here on the right, you can see a preview of what your bot's going to look like. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to clear out the code here on the left. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Update Outputs down at the bottom. And you'll see that immediately it gives me some errors. It says you need a Q and you need an A. And that actually helps you understand sort of what's at the core of QnA. At the core of QnA is a set of nested and alternating Qs and As. And their relative location to text tells the computer basically what to do with that text. So let's just go ahead and build something from scratch and see if we can get a feel for that. So I'm going to start with something. I'm just going to type Q. Do you want to learn QnA? Question mark. And I'll go ahead and update the outputs. Now it's still going to yell at me because it says that I need an A tag. So let's go ahead and add an A tag or two. So I'll say yes and no. And if I go ahead and I update those outputs, now I've got something here that looks a little more like what I would expect. Now not much is going on here because I actually haven't provided it with much information. And it's important to realize I'm not constrained to just those two. I could have gone in and added maybe, maybe not. Maybe not. I could have added those, anything in that I wanted. But things get really interesting when you decide to go ahead and start nesting text. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting a Q here under this A. So I'm going to go ahead and put another Q here. I'm going to say, great. Then you should read the syntax page. And if I go ahead and I update here, my front still looks the same, but if I go ahead and I click on yes, then I can see that I get back the read the syntax message. So as you can see, clicking on an A triggers the Q underneath it. This also makes it clear that Q really isn't a question, it's just the computer's prompt. And now you actually can go ahead and you can add A's underneath these new Qs as you nest them. And as long as they're aligned vertically, they'll show up together. So I'll just add one here, cool. In which case then I would get something like this. Update, yes, and then I can click cool. Now nothing's going to happen there if I click cool, there's nothing underneath it to trigger. But you can get the idea how that nesting can be used to just sort of go on forever and ever. Now I should mention that this isn't an exhaustive lesson on QnA. For that you'll really want to read the syntax page, as we just said. You can find that up here in the top. If we go ahead and we open up and look really quickly at the syntax page, that has a complete list of all the things you could ever want to know about QnA. It takes about 20 minutes to read. If you sit down and work with it for about an hour, you'll know everything you need to know about QnA. It goes through and it lists all the different tags, like Q and A. And a tag is really just a collection of text, like Q colon or A colon, that tells the computer what to do with the text around it. And so you can find all sorts of examples here, including little bits of code and examples in the syntax page. That being said, I only have to show you 3 more things before you know enough to build a bot, just like the one we launched last week. So the first one is that you can turn A's into links. Okay, so I'm going to take this here where it's telling me, great, then you should learn to read the syntax page. I'm going to change that to say, take me there. And then you can turn it into a link by just taking a URL and putting it in a bracket adjacent to the colon there. So now if I do this and I reload this, I go, great, do you want to learn QnA? I'll say yes. It'll say, great. Then you should read the syntax page, and I'll say, take me there. And I'll just go ahead and open that page. So that was the first thing. Second thing, the text of Q&As can support HTML. So if you know any HTML, you can just go to town. So for example, let's add a reaction GIF right in here where it says great. Instead of saying great, let's go ahead and we'll make that a reaction GIF. So I know a little HTML, which means that if I want to put in a picture, I put in a little something that looks like this. And I'm going to go ahead and find myself a picture. So I want the picture that's going to say great. That's sort of a response there. So I queued something up there. I'll just grab that. I'll put it in there, and then I'll update. And now if I go ahead and I click on yes, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a nice little montage there of thumbs up. Okay, so that was the second thing. Third thing, you can redirect users to queues other than those directly below an A using something called the goto tag. So let's go ahead and I'm going to make a new queue, and this is just going to sort of be a general queue that says goodbye. Okay. Actually, let's be cool. Let's make that another reaction GIF. And actually, we don't need the text. We'll just go with the reaction GIF goodness. Now, if I update this here, I have this new question, but I have no way to get to it. Well, you may have noticed that the code is adding these little parentheticals, and actually I can use those as ways to direct people to questions that aren't directly below them in this flow. So if I put another nested queue under this A, and I go ahead and I say go to 2, and similarly under this guy I could put a nested queue and I say go to 2, then what that means, if I go ahead and I update, then if I click on no, then it's just going to jump me right here to my by. Or if I go back and I click on yes, it's going to give me my thumbs up. And then when I say take me there, it's going to go ahead and open up this new window. But back on the window where I was, it went ahead and it took me to the by. So there's using the goto. Now even cooler than that, you can rename these things to be something that is easier to remember. So you don't have to just go with those default default names. And what that means is I can go ahead and I can update this, and it'll still work just as good. So there you go. Now you can make a bot just like the one we did. When you're done, be sure to save your source code as a text file. You just do that by clicking on Save Markup to File, and you can save that there. And you'll want to save your output as an HTML file. You can do that clicking there, or if your browser doesn't support that, you can cut and paste this HTML here into a text file and save it as an HTML. So I hope you liked that. Just think of all the other great stuff you could learn if you came to LitCon 2019.